This is Mark Latham with us. Mark Latham was one of the first public figures in this country over 4 years ago to identify Donald Trump as the likely winner of the 2016 election. What do you make of this latest development?
Well, I think Trump will get a lot of sympathy for Middle America, Alan. Not everyone is Trump deranged, you know. It's sort of a disease of the left. But in Middle America, you'd be expecting that they'd rally around their president, wouldn't they? And in typical Trump style, he's already declaring himself now an expert on the virus. He's been to the real school of it. And next he'll be saying that, you know, he was so strong he beat the virus. So, you know, he's forever the showman. He doesn't miss an opportunity to promote himself. He seems to be irrepressible in every single circumstance, no matter what they hurl at him. And I think a lot will now hinge on the second and third debates to see what comes of that and how he matches up against Biden after the cage match in the first debate. Just
on this, the things where you and I have talked about, he made this speech on Independence Day, decades of left-wing indoctrination in schools. He said they've taught Americans to be ashamed of their country. He said American parents are not going to accept indoctrination in our schools, cancel culture at work, or the repression of traditional faith, culture and values and so on. That's all happening here. Do you think that's got bite and resonance with the American parent, the suburban American voter?
Well, that's a really good point, because you could watch the Australian TV news and not know that Trump has taken a fantastic stance in saying if you're teaching political indoctrination instead of education, you get defunded and you get deregistered. So I think there'll be a lot of American parents saying, hallelujah, thank goodness someone is driving political content out of the schools and putting real education rigour back in. So we've got the same problem here in Australia. I can't find anything in the New South Wales curriculum where you'd say the purpose is to make the students proud of their country. A lot of it is denigrating Australia and our wonderful achievements. So, and a lot of it is just finding excuse after excuse to teach left-wing politics. So
See, I've
got a table full of political indoctrination here.
Well,
I wish we had a Trump to smash it to pieces.
I want to come to that in a minute. Just one final thing, because on that Independence Day speech he said there was a merciless campaign to wipe out our history, defame our heroes, erase our values and indoctrinate our children. Now, you've constantly said, and you've got proof of it here, let's go to Pennant Hills High School, you've got proof of that here in the education system.
Well, they find every single excuse to teach politics instead of literacy and real English. In Year 8 at Pennant Hills High School here in Sydney, they take a unit teaching about the stolen generation and colonisation, supposedly, I mean, it's just in the theatre of the absurd, supposedly for the sole purpose of teaching the students the meaning of the word devastating.
Devastating.
Now, you can learn the word devastating by looking up the dictionary in about 30 seconds. But they teach a whole unit about stolen generation and colonisation. This is in English for learning one word, devastating. So it's obviously taking an attempt to teach one word and turning it into left-wing political indoctrination. And the minister here, Sarah Mitchell, I asked her on the notice. Well, she not only admits it, Alan, she defends it by saying New South Wales public schools are neutral places for rational discourse and objective study. But you can't say that taking the English curriculum and inserting colonisation as a left-wing political theme just to teach the word devastating makes it a neutral place. So she's made a farce of her claim at the end of last year she was going to get rid of political content in our schools. And then it goes on even worse. This is a federally funded agency, the Australian Government E-Safety Commissioner. They then teach at Pennant Hills High this E-Safety course, which is an attack on Australia Day. Now, I don't know what Australia Day has got to do with e-safety, you know, kids learning about the perils of social media. And then they mock up an exercise here, Australia Day, a day of mourning and survival, change the date, says Jamie. And then the only people attacking Jamie, this is supposed to be social media abuse, are Scott, who basically says, you know, go find yourself a different country, and Fatima, who says the same, F off. So, you know, the two people who are denigrated here in the course, Scott Morrison funds this, in the course being taught in the school. The two people being denigrated here are supporters of Australia.
You're a parent.
What's this got to do with e-safety?
I know, but
what's this got to do with English?
I know, but do parents know that their kids are going into a classroom where they're going to be taught about anti-Australia Day? Anti-Australia, that's what it says specifically, anti-Australia Day and the stolen generation. Then you've got this Cambridge legal studies.
Well, that's right. On the cover of the legal book now for New South Wales Year 11 and 12 legal studies is Greta Thunberg. Now, they're promoting someone here best known for wagging school. She missed school for 3 years to go campaign about climate change. What would she know about legal studies in New South Wales? So again, politics on the front cover. I'm getting a copy of it to have a look what's in there, but if Greta Thunberg is on the front cover, this is not neutral legal studies instruction for year 11 and 12 in New South Wales schools. There'll be left-wing propaganda and there'll be plenty of stuff in there about climate change, which has got nothing to do with legal studies in our syllabus. So again, they take every opportunity to grab an excuse and insert left-wing political indoctrination into our schools.
Well, this is what Trump has said. Decades of left-wing indoctrination in schools that's taught Americans to be ashamed of their country.
That's right. And
this is what's going on here.
And no Australian who loves their country ever does the right thing. I'll give you another example. At Maitland High School there in the Hunter Valley, in one of their courses, they teach this propaganda movie, The Final Quarter, the Adam Goods story. And they ask the question, after scoring a goal, Goods celebrated his culture with a traditional war cry. How did the crowd respond to this? How did this impact Goods' well-being? This was the famous charge at the fans at the SCG, the Carlton fan, the women and children. You see them recoil with horror. So Goods here is the victim, when in normal circumstances you say, well, what about the women and children in the crowd? So again, what's this got to do? The portrait of Goods wins the Archibald Prize too. Well, it's everywhere, but in our schools, what they do, Alan, they say they need a stimulus item to provoke a comprehension class in English, so they give you left-wing politics. At Maitland High, they've introduced Black Lives Matter and allegations of police racial profiling as the stimulus, not a well-written classic of English literature. That's the stimulus for comprehension. And on it goes, school after school after school.
Give Bronte and Dickens and everyone out of it. You were the one who argued 2016 that Trump would win.
Well, I hope he wins again, because they badly need him and he sets a good example for getting this stuff out of the school system. But it's hard to read the American political system. I mean, it's all upside down.
But it'd be nice to get one or two political leaders here, apart from you, to speak in the language that Trump is speaking about the left-wing penetration of our institutions.
Well, at least the National Party Education Minister shouldn't say all this is neutrality.
That's right.
And Gladys, who goes on about back to basics, has got to understand that wall to wall, what we're seeing here...
Well, Gladys said all the set maps were wrong. Well, if she said all the set maps were wrong about the koalas, why did she release them?
Well, Alan, the really sad thing is the New South Wales one used to have one of the best English syllabuses in the world. Yeah. And now it's political indoctrination. Absolutely. And every year, starting in Year 7, we've got 16,000 students in New South Wales who can't read and write. And they teach this rubbish.
I know all about that. Good on you.
You know...
Keep at it. Keep at it.
100%.
You're the hope of the side.
Well, next week, I'm going to show you, we're going to put it on screen, the indoctrination courses taught in professional development about gender fluidity. And that'll open a few eyes as well. This stuff is everywhere. It's a disgrace.
There he is. Good man, isn't he? Keep at it. The leader of One Nation in the New South Wales Parliament, Mark Latham, will be back after the break.